Today we're going to be looking at the plus 10, minus 10 strategy, specifically within the numbers 1 through 20. So two helpful tools that you might want to use to explore the patterns that you see in the strategy are a 20s chart. If you don't have a 20s chart, the first two rows of a 100s chart will work perfectly fine. Or you could use a double tens frame with linking cubes or base 10 blocks. Let's get started. Let's look at the number sentence 7 plus 10. So notice that my counter is starting on the 7 on my 20s chart. Let me give you a moment to figure out what the sum of 7 plus 10 more would be. If you said 17, you'd be correct. Notice the direction that I travel on the 20s chart and how the number that I started with, 7, and the sum that I ended with, 17, are alike and different. You might be able to use those patterns to help you learn these facts. So what is one way that they are both similar? If you said they still both have a 7 in the ones place, you'd be correct. Another difference you might have noticed is that there are 0 tens in the 7, but 1 10 in the 17. Did you notice how I traveled on the 20s chart? Another tool you can use, like I said, is the double tens frame. So I started with 7, I added 10 more, and that gave me 17. Let's look at another. What is 2 plus 10 more? 2 plus 10 more. Use the 20s chart or double tens frame to solve. Let me give you a moment to think about it. If you said the sum was 12, you'd be correct. Do you notice how I'm traveling on the 20s chart? How is the number I started with, 2, and the sum that I ended with after adding 10, 12, alike and different? Did you notice there still is a 2 in the ones place? And that the tens place changed. I went from having 0 tens and no digit in the no tens digit in the number 2 to having a 1 digit in the tens place in the number 12. I can also represent this on a double tens frame. 2 plus 10 more make 12. Let's look at one more addition. All right, 5 plus 10 more. Let me give you a moment to think about that. 5 plus 10 more makes, you said 15, you are correct. Did you notice how I'm traveling down the 20s chart or the 100s chart? If you notice that I'm going down one row, but I'm staying in the same column, you'd be correct. How many numbers make up each row on a 20s chart or a 100s chart? That's right, 10. There are 10 numbers in each row on a 20s chart or a 100s chart. So when I'm adding 10, I simply go down one row, staying in the same column on the chart. Look at how then my starting number and my ending number are alike and different. They both have a 5 in the ones place. The only place that changed was my tens place. I went from having 0 tens to 1 10. And again, I can also represent this in a double tens frame. 5 plus 10 more make 15. All right, now let's look at how this applies to when we subtract 10 from a number. 18 minus 10. You can use the 20s chart or the double tens frame, or you might have another strategy. Let me give you a moment to think about it. What is 18 minus 10? 18 minus 10 is 8. Look at how that starting number 18 and the difference 8 are alike and different. They still both have an 8 in the ones place, but I went from having 1 10 to no tens because I took a 10 away. Look at how I'm traveling on the 20s chart. That's a little different from how I traveled when I added 10 to a number. I can also represent this with a double tens frame. 18 minus 10 leaves me with a difference of 8. Let's do another. What about 13 minus 10? Let me give you a moment to think about what the difference would be. 13 minus 10. If you said 3, you'd be correct. Notice how I'm traveling on the 20s chart. How is that different from when I added 10? That's right, I'm going up the column, one row, when I'm subtracting, because my number is decreasing by 10, so I'm going up toward where the lower numbers would be. When I added, I went down the column one row. All right, so again, looking at likenesses and differences, we see that the ones place didn't change because I didn't take any ones away. I just took one 10. The only place that changed was my tens place. And again, I can represent that with a double tens frame. 13 minus 10 leaves me with a difference of 3. Let's do one last problem. All right, 11 minus 10. What is the difference of 11 and 10? If you said 1, you're correct. Are you starting to get the hang of some of these patterns? Did you notice how we traveled when we subtracted 10 from a number? Look at how those numbers, my starting number and my ending number, are alike and different. My ones place didn't change, just my tens place by 10. And I can represent that also with a double tens frame. 11 minus 10 leaves me with 1. All right, great job, boys and girls. Continue to explore this strategy by practicing with games and other activities. And remember that these two tools might help you better learn the strategy using the 20s chart or 100s chart or using a double tens frame. Have a great day.